The Phoenix Suns, the biggest flops in NBA history when it comes to putting together a team of all stars. Remember when the Phoenix Suns first got put together? Booker Durant recruited Beal. They got the trade to go down with the Washington Wizards and the Phoenix Suns. And Chris Paul makes his way over to, I think it was like a three-way deal, because then Chris Paul ended up in Golden State, and the other guy ended up in Washington. I forgot his name. Jordan Poole. It's a big blockbuster deal, and everyone had the Phoenix Suns as the team that would be the threat in the West. They'd be the biggest threat to Denver. Denver's going to have their hands full. This offensive team's going to be unstoppable. They're going to average 200 points a game. Who's going to stop Booker and Beal and Durant? You can't double any of them. But then they get swept in the playoffs. They get swept in the first round. From a team that was projected by many who thought they could possibly break the all-time wins record, going from that to getting swept in the first round to the Minnesota Timberwolves is quite embarrassing. And another stain on the legacy of a Kevin Durant, as well as Devin Booker. I don't know. Bradley Beal's legacy is kind of already what it is. I don't think this hurts Bradley Beal's legacy because he really doesn't have much of a legacy when it comes to all-time greatness. I think the biggest person that takes the biggest hit here is obviously Kevin Durant. The biggest name to take the biggest hit is Kevin Durant, because Durant is the guy who has been jumping around team to team, Golden State, Oklahoma City, Golden State, Brooklyn, built a big three over there that didn't really pan out. And I don't blame Durant for Brooklyn because, you know, he did what he can do. It wasn't really all him. But then he goes over to Phoenix, tries to get that going, recruits. And it just seems that Kevin Durant is cursed. And he's ruined his legacy. Now, of course, he's going to go down as one of the greatest scorers in league history, but where he falls in the position of all-time great small forwards or power forwards, whatever forwards. I know today these guys are positionless, right? They get 3, 4, whatever. I think when you talk about all-time greatness, I mean, Durant potentially had a chance to go down as a top 10 player all time. But when you bounce around, and look, this is the LeBron era of bouncing around, right? LeBron set the stage for top players to bounce around to try to win titles. LeBron made it okay. LeBron said, hey, I'm going to leave Cleveland. I'm going to go to Miami, hook up with Wade and Bosh. And I'm talking about in their prime. Now, I know you guys are going to say, well, Ray Allen and Kevin Durant, well, they were traded, right? And they were in their 30s. They didn't, like, hook up in their 20s. Like, Garnett and Ray Allen didn't leave their Milwaukee, Minnesota deals in the middle of their prime at 25 years old. Say, hey, let's go out to Boston. No. Garnett was in Minnesota for like 100 years. Ray Allen ended up in Seattle for a portion until he got into his 30s. And then they all got traded to Boston. So, no, it's not the same. It's completely different than what LeBron did. LeBron set the stage for prime stars. And no one wants to say that. That's why when these guys get on TV or on these podcasts and they try to defend LeBron didn't start the super team. Barkley did it back in the 90s. 45 years old, Charles Barkley hooked up in Houston with all these guys. Blah, blah. No. You know what we mean when we say LeBron started it. Okay? You know what we mean, folks. Like, why are these people trying to play dumb? Like, they don't know what people mean when they talk about LeBron starting it. No, not the Celtics. Miami and LeBron. 3 20-year-olds in their prime, entering their prime, right? Taking pay cuts to hook up in Miami right after their first contract, after their rookie extensions, right? Come on, like let's not act like you guys don't know what we're talking about here. That's what happened. And then after that moment, other players after them started to do the same thing. They started working their way around the league. And this is why Kevin Durant has played on a bunch of teams. Think about it. Guys back then, if you hooked up with a team that had a prime 3 players that are stars, you're likely not leaving again. You're probably going to run through the league and win a bunch of titles. And this era is not that great. So you got to wonder, how did every team that Durant was on, honestly, to be honest, and it's not just about Phoenix too, because the Clippers, another team, but at least the Clippers' excuse is Kawhi and PG had an injury history, right? So that's their excuse. But Kevin Durant probably should have about 5, 6, 7 titles by now, considering since he played on Oklahoma City Thunder, probably around year what? I don't know, right? 4, 5, 6. He's been one of the best players in basketball. And he's been a top 5 player at least for a very long time. And he's hooked up with guys who are amongst the best in the league. He's done it in Golden State. Now, we've seen him get results in Golden State. He won titles with Curry, Clay, Dre. And he leaves there, goes to Brooklyn. You're thinking, oh, okay, this team could at least come out the East. Now, injuries happen, things happen. He didn't succeed. Then he goes to Phoenix. A big flop. So, all that goes against your legacy. This is why I say this era is a complete joke. They changed the rules. They made it easier for guys to score. They don't play defense. This is a dream scenario for Kevin Durant. For all the offensive talent, you would think Booker, Durant, Beal would average 50 points, blowouts. But then they get against Minnesota, who's got one guy, really. I mean, yeah, Cat is good. Cat is an all-star big. But Cat ain't. Cat's been having some issues. So it's really Anthony Davis carrying that team. And you got 3-on-1, maybe 3-on-2. And you get swept. There's no reason why Minnesota should have swept you. Minnesota's not no juggernaut. They're a one-man show, pretty much. One, maybe 2-man, if you want to count it. Cat Williams. Cat Davis. Cat Towns. Carl Anthony Towns. But seriously, Anthony Davis pretty much took the soul. He took your soul, Durant. Booker, Beal, he took your soul. He snatched the soul out of you. He did what Jordan couldn't do to the Celtics in the 80s when he went up against that juggernaut in Boston. Remember when Jordan had 63? And I'm not saying that the Phoenix Suns was the 85, 86 Celtics. I'm not saying that. Not even close. But the scenario as far as you got this young offensive stud in Anthony Davis, top player in the league, one of the top players, going up against this juggernaut of a team. Now, despite the fact that Minnesota was a higher seed, of course, they had a better season. But Phoenix, you thought, okay, if they at least get to the playoffs, they clicking, they would give Minnesota a run for their money, might even upset them. But you never had it. And plus, Phoenix had Minnesota's number in the regular season. So that's why people thought, hey, this is a bad matchup for Minnesota. Phoenix got their number. I believe Phoenix swept the T-Wolves in the regular season. So Phoenix thought they had it. Now, did they go into the series believing, oh, we could beat these guys? But I think the Phoenix experiment proves that you can't build your NBA title team like your 2K roster. And it's a lesson to be learned that you can't just put big names together and expect results. It doesn't happen that way. Some guys fit, some guys don't. And if you don't put the right pieces together, you're gonna lose. So what's next for Phoenix? Right? What's next for the Phoenix Suns? Do they move on? I'm hearing rumors that maybe they'll look to trade Kevin Durant to the Hawks, or maybe Devin Booker gets traded to the Knicks. I heard Stephen A. Smith throw that out there. Now, Stephen A.'s a Knicks fan, so he's probably wishing he gets that, especially being that Booker played so great in the final game. He still has a lot in the tank. I believe he's younger than the other two. So will this team break up? I believe there's going to be a shakeup in the offseason. There's no way they run this back. Now, do they decide to run it back and they say, well, the first year, things, Miami, they had their issues. Maybe we give it another run. I think they break it up because it's already proven to not work. And there's now talks that Durant was frustrated in the offense, of his role in the offense. So they're clearly probably going to break this thing up. So who gets moved? Is it going to be Booker? Is it going to be Durant? I don't know if Beal gets more. I think Beal probably has the least value of the three, to be honest. I think they stick with Beal. And remember, the Suns have no first-round picks for a long time. They should get rid of all their picks. So they really have to decide who has the most value in this deal to try to at least get some pieces back, some role players. And so we'll see. Now, the Clippers, another team, I think they're still alive. They won their last game, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't watched the NBA playoffs much because it's hard, it's unwatchable. So I haven't not paid attention to the Clippers. I know they were probably going to lose that series, and I believe they won their last game. I have to check. But the Clippers in the same boat, a team that was trending upward throughout the season. Felt like a team, the odds of winning the title increased. The odds makers started moving them up because people were jumping on the bandwagon a bit from a betting standpoint. They had really good odds when they were streaking up. And people thought, hey, that might be a good bet. Clippers, they had some ridiculous odds. I remember talking about it. I was like, man, that's a good, throw a couple of dollars on that. It may pay off. But I think the Clippers are not going to do much. They're probably going to lose their series. So I just think that teams, like Denver won the title, built their team the right way, got some role players, guys who understand their role. You got your all-star point guard that's kind of all-star, but not really all-star, I guess. You got your MVP in Jokic, who is the team. And the way Denver built their team, that's the type of team you want. That's how you want to build your team. And the days of trying to put together a star-studded team doesn't work. Hasn't even worked that well for LeBron. And LeBron's the one that started it, right? Yeah, he got one off. He got a couple off in Miami. But has it really worked since? I mean, yes, Golden State with Durant worked because that team was already established. And I think the main thing that Phoenix misunderstood about the team, building that team to a title contender, was that Chris Paul was the main piece that elevated Phoenix to title contention, right? Going from a bubble team that I think it was like 8th seed or 7th seed or something. The following season, they go out and get Chris Paul, and they make a deal. And look, Paul wasn't the same Paul anymore, but so they had to move on. But that was the reason. Good point guard play, a leader on the floor that can handle a bunch of these type of guys, because that's what you need. You're gonna need a floor general, right, to handle that offense, to make sure guys get the ball in their different spots. And that was probably a downfall to Miami in the first run when they lost to Dallas. They didn't have a great point guard. If they had a great point guard or a good point guard, they probably beat the Mavs, because then JJ Barea is not, and Jason Terry are not like giving fits to LeBron because they have a point guard that can handle themselves. So point guard play in the postseason, a veteran point guard presence is very important. And when you don't have that, or just a good point guard, a serviceable point guard that can run your offense or leadership, you could tell Phoenix had no leadership at all. And that's why they got swept. Zero leadership at that position. It's at that position that's key. Um, so, and you can make the argument that, you know, the Boston's run with, yes, Garnett was the defensive leader, the anchor, the heart and soul of that Celtics team. They had a pretty good leadership, and Rondo, even though he was young, but he was an experienced point guard. He understood how to play the position, which helped that Boston win quickly when they put that team together. You need point guard play, especially in today's NBA where the offenses are explosive. I mean, guys, anybody can drop 40 on any given night, right? I mean, you've heard there's guys that have dropped 30, 40, 50 points this year that you never heard of, right? Bench players are dropping 40 in the NBA. And it's not because the league is better. And that's what people misunderstand with the NBA. Oh, well, the league is better today because some guy named Joe Schmo dropped 40 and he was playing in the G League 2 weeks ago. No, that's proof that the league sucks, right? When a guy can come out the G League, be on the NBA roster for 2 weeks off the bench and drop 40, that tells me that the NBA sucks. That this era is absolute garbage. Because the NBA has traded defense and great play for entertainment, right? Because it's all about the mighty dollar. They've gotten rid of competitiveness and greatness for entertainment. That was worth it. Hey, how could we get more money? Easy. Let's let the games go to 180. Let's take away the defense. Let's let guys, when we get random guys that could drop 40 points, people want to tune into TV now. Next game, how many people are going to be watching to see if Joe Schmo is going to drop another 40-point game? He may not play again for another 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks, he'll play like 5 minutes a game. But we will tune in now. The average fan that's not really a fan or maybe had betting interest. Think about it. Some random Joe or a bunch of Joes probably made a bunch of money that night because they bet it. They put a little money down that Joe Schmo would go over 20 points, even though he's never played a game in his career, and he just happened that one night to drop 40. So now people are gonna watch and say, "Hey, can Joe Schmo drop 40 again?" That's what the NBA looks for. That's what type of. They're not looking to cater to the diehard fan because they know the diehard fan will never go. Like if you're a diehard NBA fan, you're not leaving. They're looking to cater to the fringe, outside fan, the part-time fan. They're looking to keep that person engaged to come back to the NBA, whether it's a couple times a week. They're looking to capture that person. That's the person. That's who they're catering to now. They've already moved on from the diehard fan. The diehard fan is not important to them no more. They know you're still going to watch. You're going to have the league pass. You're going to probably watch it. You're going to stream it illegally somewhere. You're going to buy the merch. You're going to shout and scream for your team. They're looking for the person who is a part-timer that needs something to be excited about. A storyline. That's not their usual story of, oh, Durant this or LeBron that. That's what they're looking for. So they want to entertain you. And they need drama. Right? So that's why the Lakers won their game. Lakers should be at home on vacation right now. But the NBA knows that they get LeBron game 5, or game 4. Guess what game 5 is probably going to be a highly rated game. Everyone's going to watch. They're going to get major ratings. And depending on how big the ratings are, they're probably going to let them win game 5. They already got guys talking about Murray may or may not play. Like they're already trying to set the table for LeBron to come back at his farewell tour. Just imagine they already started the rumors. If LeBron comes back from 0-3 in the first round, does this make him the GOAT? Like, really? So we're doing first round series now come on. Like they're trying to make up scenarios. They're trying to make up stats. If he comes back down 0-3 against the defending champs, this has to make him the GOAT. No. That conversation is closed. He's not the GOAT. He never will be the GOAT. But they're trying to make that up. And if they get enough momentum, the NBA will tip the scales. They will. So keep an eye out on Jamal Murray to find out if he plays or not. They're already trying to throw that in there to get you guys to believe, oh, Murray, something's wrong with Murray. He's going to sit out. He sits out because it's scripted. The NBA's entertainment. It's an entertainment product. They got to build drama. Either way, I can tell you what, Denver is probably going to need to beat LA by 20 tonight in order to feel comfortable about closing out the series. But can they beat LA by 20 without Jamal Murray? Probably not. Because the Lakers they're going to have a 2 to 3 to 1 advantage on free throws. Right? That stage is already set. They led the NBA in free throws by like 1 billion. So if they get a lot of free throws tonight or whenever they play, no one's going to question it because the Lakers already have that track record of having a lot of free throws. And Denver was a team with some of the lowest free throw attempts in the league this year. So they already got it planted in to where if the Lakers win the game and they get way more free throws, they can say, well, the Lakers have been consistent all year. They've had the most free throw attempts, so there's nothing nefarious going on here. So Denver's going to have to blow the Lakers out to close them out. They're going to have to blow them out. And how do you blow out a team? That means you got to be almost unstoppable from downtown. Now, I don't know how great Denver is from 3. I don't know. I really don't watch Denver Nuggets basketball. I don't watch Denver Nuggets basketball. I can't really tell you if they're one of these light top 3-point shooting teams. But we do know that the Lakers can get hot, right? You know, D'Angelo Russell, even though he struggled last couple of games, I think he didn't even score last game. He can get hot from downtown. And with no Jamal Murray, potentially, Russell's going to have free reign. We know LeBron can hit a few if he wants. So it's not like it's out of the ordinary for the Lakers to have a hot streak from downtown in the next game. So just keep an eye on that as well. But if I had to guess, I think that there's going to be, the Lakers are going to be out. And the final thing I have is the NFL draft. And people are upset. People are questioning the Atlanta Falcons over what they drafted, the Penix. Wondering, people are questioning that move. I think I don't see the problem really in theory. I know they gave Kirk Cousins a lot of money, but hindsight is 2020, folks. Like at the time, if they thought they can get a quarterback at that spot that they liked, do they even give Kirk Cousins that deal? No, because what they could have had done probably instead was probably sign a veteran quarterback at a cheaper price and then drafted Penix. So just because you make the signing of their quarterback, now when the draft comes, the guy that you wanted or you thought you couldn't get because you probably thought he would be gone or he wouldn't fit is sitting there and you want him. Maybe you worked him out. Maybe you talked to him. Because this is why I think free agency should be after the draft. As far as like major free agency, I think it should be draft first and then free agency because then teams can decide what or what not to do. Now, I get why maybe free agency is done earlier because that might have something to do with the players association, being that NFL contracts are not guaranteed. They want to make sure guys actually get their money because the NFL teams can say, well, since free agency is after the draft, we'll sign none of you guys. We'll just draft our players and see what we got, and then we'll come to you and bargain basement you. So I guess there's a reason why free agency is earlier to kind of protect the players, like especially veteran players, to make sure they actually, get their money. But That's what happens, right? It's like, hey, free agency comes early. You sign guys, and then when the draft comes, it is what it is. So my theory with the Falcons before the Kirk Cousins signing was potentially they would have stayed pat at quarterback, or maybe even signed someone that wasn't as good. Or if they signed it Kirk Cousins, maybe Cousins would have got hurt because he has a history of getting hurt. Falcons suck again next year, and then they end up drafting a Shador Sanders and giving Deion Sanders the Falcons head coaching job. That was my theory last year, early last year, or maybe not early last year, early this year, before when the season was still going on. This is way before free agency. This was my theory because I thought that Deion Sanders would finesse his way to the NFL next season. I don't think he stays in Colorado after this year. I think, especially if Colorado Buffaloes have a big season, they break records, offensive records. They go, I don't know, they win double-digit games. They get to a bowl game. Shador Sanders looks like the next great thing. And Deion's hype machine with his media channel and all that. And if somehow Shador makes his way up to a top team, a top pick, and the Falcons are sitting there, right, because they didn't have a great year again, and maybe there's rumors that the Falcons get rid of their head coach and Deion Sanders say, hey, you sign, let me give me the job, and then he drafts his son. I thought that would be a possibility. I also thought Dallas is a potential possibility. Now things are changing now. It's not looking that way. But that was my theory early. Now that Atlanta has Kirk Cousins, Penix, the Penix kid, you can almost scratch Shador and Deion off the table. At least right now. At least right now. Things could change, right? Penix can be back. Kirk Cousins could get hurt. Penix can come in and look like shit. And Falcons end up back with a top pick, and then that would be back on the table. But that also depended on how good Colorado Buffaloes were going to be this upcoming season, which I believe they'll have a better year, at least offensively. I'm not gonna say they would be in the playoff. I know they expanded the playoff, I believe, right? So maybe they make the playoff. I don't know, but I don't know. That was just me throwing that out there. And I said that a while back on the radio show, like many Saturdays ago. It's probably sometime up in January. I said that, maybe December. I don't remember, but so the Falcons. Look, I don't have an issue with the Falcons here. I think this was their move to make, and they made it. I like what Minnesota did. Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy, and I don't know if Justin Jefferson likes it, but hey. And Chicago Bears did pretty well too. They got obviously the first pick, and then they picked up a wide receiver with that second top first round pick. So they added another receiver to a receiving room that's already packed. And so we'll see how that turns out. Look, Caleb Williams has no excuse next season. He has no excuse. He's already been given a lot of stuff. He's got toys. So we'll see. We'll find out if he's going to be good or not. I don't think has there ever been a rookie quarterback that will come into a situation with toys like Caleb Williams has? Veteran wide receivers, a good rookie wide receiver. I mean, no other quarterback. There's veteran quarterbacks that are playing now that don't have weapons like that, right? If you go back to like Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, Patrick Mahomes never had these kind of weapons. Brady's never started off with these kind of weapons. Peyton Manning, none of them have started out with these good of a weapon. These are good weapons. Allen, good weapon. DJ Moore, good weapon. And then you get the rookie that they just drafted. That's another good weapon. All right? I mean, there's no excuse for I mean, CJ Stroud didn't have these good weapons, and he had a damn good season up in Houston. He didn't have these weapons. And he threw for almost 5,000 yards, I believe, right? Something like that. So So Caleb Williams has no excuse, zero excuse next season. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear nothing about he need time. No. You play in the NFC North. Yes, the Minnesota Vikings are there. Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love coming back. Jordan Love didn't even have these good receivers, right? He has some bunch of no names. We'll see what he does the following season. Detroit Lions obviously had a big season. Will they come back down? Will they take a step back? We'll see. But the NFC North is looking really interesting now with Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, and Minnesota. That might be the best division in the NFC, at least going into next season, from top to bottom. I mean, all four of those teams potentially could win that division. All four. I don't know if any other division you could really say that about every single team in the division. Right? I mean, the East is probably going to be between Giants and Philly. Not Giants, Philly. Philly and Cowboys, excuse me. Giants and Washington, no. The South, I guess you could say anyone. No, not really, because I don't think Carolina could win that division. I don't think it might be between Tampa and New Orleans again. Falcons, Tampa. Well, I think Falcons are the favorites in that division. So, yes, Falcons are the NFC South favorites. Let's just take that out of the way right now. So, let's go on the West with the Sea Chickens, and obviously the 49ers division. So, the NFC North from 1 to 4, any one of those 4 teams can win the division. That might be one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive division outside of probably the AFC North, right? With Bengals, Steelers, Browns, and Ravens. Every other division. This might be the most competitive division. It's crazy. AFC North and NFC North both are pretty damn good from top to bottom. So we'll see. We will see. And it's still early. A lot of time can happen. Injuries. NFL's very predictable but unpredictable, right? In a sense. Look at last season. The Bengals probably should have been to the Super Bowl. But Joe Burrow goes down, season's over. Done. Right? Bengals were the favorites in my book last season to win the Super Bowl. Now they got problems. T. Higgins, all this other stuff going on. Just what happens one year when you don't win and you're not contending, the train falls off the tracks. And Kansas City's back on top. So, look at same Buffalo. Same thing. Buffalo was supposed to be the shit, right? Buffalo, this is their year. Flop. Diggs gone. Boom. And so it happens just like that, folks. It's so quick. Lucky Kansas City, and this is what happens when you have a great coach, right? A veteran, all-time great coach, Andy Reid, and you developed a QB, and you create a system, right? These new coaches with these young quarterbacks, they're not winning Super Bowls. As great as Baltimore's been in the regular season with Harbaugh, I think it's John Harbaugh, they haven't won a Super Bowl. So when does that happen for Lamar Jackson? Right? Is it because John Harbaugh is not a great coach? John's won. He's won. He's won with Joe Flacco. So he can't win with Lamar Jackson? He win with Joe Flacco? So, or is it because Lamar's a running quarterback and running quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls? That might be it. I don't know. There's a lot of things to say. Lamar's had his best team by far in his career. Even better than the years he won an MVP. And you can make the case that Kansas City, this wasn't the best Kansas City team. Kansas City was struggling a lot of parts of the season. The offense looked dreadful at times. They had no receivers besides Kelsey. But they somehow figured it out. They got to the playoffs. They got it together. And when it comes to the postseason, great coaching, great quarterback play. And that Mahomes wasn't great. I understand that. Defense was also really good. But when I say great quarterback, I'm also talking about leadership. Because if your quarterback is not a great leader and he's not trusted, your team falls apart. Great head coach. Your quarterback is the head coach on the field, right? Do we trust you in a big spot? If we need to get that third down conversion, can you get it? Do we trust you with the ball? Right? Clearly, Andy Reid trusts Patrick Mahomes in any situation, even if Mahomes is struggling. Mahomes can miss his. He can have 7, 8 straight incompletions in the fourth quarter, but if they need to get down the drive, get a third down conversion, 37, you best believe Mahomes is going to throw that ball. Andy Reid's going to say throw. He's not gonna say, "Oh, well, let's try to run it because you're not converting on third down." No, you gotta say throw the ball. Same thing with Belichick and Brady. Brady can go 0 for 10 in the last 10 third downs. Fourth quarter, need third down completion. Brady's gonna get it, right? I mean, that's just the trust that your quarterback has in your veteran star. I mean, your head coach has in your veteran star quarterback, right? That you're gonna get it done. I mean, if you look at Tom Brady's run in the postseason with New England, even towards the tail end of his time in his runs, they weren't all pretty, right? Like, he had to come back a lot. Like, he had to come back from double digits a lot. Like, and like this notion that, like Brady's had these great teams, like these defenses were so great. They would put in the and a lot of the reason why Brady had to come back a lot was because the Patriots had a bend but not break type of team for a lot of times, and maybe that was because the Crafts were too cheap to go out and buy guys and pay for guys, or so what Belichick was doing was he was building it from the bottom. He was building depth on the back end with cheap guys. So instead of going out and paying like $20 million for like a star number one corner, he would just go out and spend a couple million on a handful of CB 3s and 2s and then develop one into becoming CB1, right? Like he was building depth on the back end, whether it be running back or cornerback. That's what he was doing. He was building or linebacker. He was building depth. So one guy gets down, gets hurt, he has another guy ready to step in. Or if he wanted to change up the game plan, every game, all 3 guys could be a cornerback 1 at any given time. So a team can't say, I'm going to exploit this guy because he may not be as quick or fast. No, Bill can change up in the middle of the game and say, okay, QB1, now you're QB3 in the second half. QB2, you're QB1, you're going to follow the number 1 receiver. So the other team is like, holy shit, like, what do? Belichick just took off his best corner that we thought was the best corner and put him on the worst corner. But now it was vice versa. It was really, he was never the best corner. He was just, because all 3 of them is just as good. But one guy just seems like the best because Bill plays chess on the field, right? And he can do that because he trusts Tom Brady that he on offense. And Brady on offense was the same way, pretty much. Brady would have, he could have 20 completions to like 4 or 5 different receivers. Like one game, Edelman's the top guy. Another game, some random guy named Smith may get some big catches on third down. Like Brady will take a third down key play and throw the ball to a guy named Random 45, whatever, come up with the name is. And he'd be like, holy shit, like you're thinking that Brady's going to go to Edelman, but then he'll turn around and go to a guy that you never heard of to get a completion on third down. I think, I remember when Brady threw a game-winning touchdown to, this one he was in Tampa. I think he threw it to somebody. I think he threw it to like the 3rd wide receiver on the roster. He was like 3rd best wide receiver for a game-winning TD. I mean, this is what Brady does. He would randomly, he's pretty much Belichick, but on the offensive side. The way he mixes and matches the players. You never know who's going to be what. And Belichick did the same thing on the defense side. That's why they were able to work so well. But Brady had to come back. A lot of times he had to come back in games. And he was able to do it because you couldn't shut down his top guy because you didn't know who was the top guy. at any given time. Anybody, Brady, the top guy for Brady is whoever Brady wants to be the top guy. He would make anybody the top guy. He'll throw the ball to a rookie, right? He just had that kind of, and you better catch it, obviously, because if you don't, you probably won't see the ball again. And guys knew that. Like, if you played on with Brady, just imagine being a rookie and playing with Tom Brady. Probably a lot of pressure, because if you don't catch the ball, you won't see it again, right? He'll go to someone else. He'll go to someone else. There's like 5 guys that he'll throw the ball to, so you better catch it. And but he would have no problem going to you. He would go to you. And I mean, it was just it was just great to watch. It was just great to watch, and it can't be duplicated. I don't care what anybody say. Kansas City is not New England. They're their own hybrid style of a run that they got going on, but you can't duplicate 20 years. You just can't do it. It won't happen ever again. Like, I would say that the Kansas City run could come to an end soon, probably soon, for the most part. Especially now where, I mean, there's like, look, Joe Burrow, he owns Kansas City, right? Joe Burrow's the next one up, right? So I think that, do I think Kansas City wins? How many more Super Bowls I think Kansas City can win? Probably the Reed and Mahomes tandem. I think I can see them possibly winning one more, maybe. But would I be shocked if they didn't win another one? No, I wouldn't. But I can see them possibly winning one more. And it'll have to be in the next couple of years, because in the next 3 years, that run's going to be over. I'm actually surprised that it's still going on now, because I really thought it would have imploded with the Tyreek Hill situation. I thought it would have imploded, but they've been able to survive, and mostly because the NFL, because one, Joe Burrow got hurt, so they got lucky with that, and two, the league is not really as great as, and it ain't really all that, and I really believe that the fix was in because of the whole Kelsey and Swift thing. I think that played a huge factor in the ratings, because they had to get Kansas City in the Super Bowl. And I think, because I go back to what I said about the NBA, it's about entertainment now. It's not really more about who's better or who's better, because Kansas City, this was not the best Kansas City team. This was not their best team. And somehow they won the Super Bowl. And narratives and entertainment will always sell. And it's an easy way to sell Kansas City to win, because Mahomes and Reed, right? These are the 2 best in the league. I mean, the best coach in the football, the best quarterback in football, and the best tight end in football. So even if you script it for them to win, no one will bat an eye, because they're saying, well, they are the 3 best. How could we dispute them? And the defense was amazing. So how can we really dispute it? But let's just be honest. If you watch and you pay close attention, the narrative was set that they was going to make sure there was no way Kansas City was not going to get to the Super Bowl. And the 49ers, I believe, from top to bottom, overall, not obviously Kansas City has the advantage, coach, quarterback, right? Coach and quarterback, I would say. But the rest of that team, top to bottom, I think 49ers were a better team. And they probably should have beat them. Now, if you swap out Brock Purdy for Tom Brady, 49ers win easily. 49ers easily win. Easily. And the 49ers know that. That's why they went out and they was flirting with Tom Brady before ultimately saying, hey, Brock, this is your team. And if Brady called now, they'll get rid of Brock tomorrow and put Brady in, or at least have Brock as a backup. And what will Brock say? Brock will say jack shit. You want a Super Bowl? Brady guarantees a Super Bowl right now to the 49ers. Guarantees it. He goes into camp. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel get their asses in line. They're not trying to get out of there. They're like, oh, shit. You got George Kittle. Ayuk, Samuel. Do you know what Brady would do with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk? He would make and George Kittle. He would make all 3 of those guys Pro Bowlers. Easily. They all would shut up and be happy and get the ball. Because Brady would love to throw. He's a thrower, right? He loves to throw. He would throw all three of those guys. They all have career numbers. And even Brady right now. I know what Brady's like 50 now. Just give him an offensive line, protect him. He's going to throw all over the league. Give Brady an offensive line. Any team with the best offensive line, call up Tom Brady, play quarterback. You're going to win a Super Bowl. Go win a Super Bowl.